The No Nonsense Roundtable, a weekly radio show and podcast where host Dom Geneva interviews guests from all walks of life, all with amazing stories to tell. And now, here's your host, Dom Geneva.
Well, welcome everybody to another edition of the No Nonsense Roundtable. Saturdays, this time, 10 o'clock on WISL and WLEA, and as a YouTube. That's produced right after the show, and you can get that and pass that on to anybody. And who I have on the show today, and you've probably recognized his voice from our little prattling before we started, is the former county clerk of Monroe County, former county clerk. That is the most rotten. That is the most rotten job title in the world, isn't
it? Thank you.
And current county executive Adam Bello. Adam Bello has become. We've become very friendly. We don't go out to dinners like we're friends, but we're very friendly. And the thing I say about you is that no matter where you sit politically speaking, because I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat, however you are politically speaking, I think that you have this likability factor that transcends a lot of other politicians, because I think you can disagree with your positions on a lot of things. I think that's only natural, but I don't see you as being as having this vitriol and just nastiness that has to be, like permeating our political system now.
Yeah, no, it really has. And it's driven, a couple of things about that. Well, first of all, thank you for saying that. And I appreciate you saying that. And, I try to make a conscious decision to do that, because at the end of the day, politics is the vehicle to get to government, right? So to be an elected official, obviously you have to get elected. And so there's a political process that you go through. But once you're elected to office, you have to be able to figure out how to separate your politics from the government service, right? And what public service is really all about. And, that's the advice that I give all politicians, any candidate who's running for office, is I always tell them, look, at the end of the day, when you win and you're in office, you've got to figure out how to pass this test. As long as you're doing the right thing, the right way, for the right reasons, then that's a good test of whether or not you're doing, what you need to be doing, and put the politics aside. But not all politicians sort of get there, my friend. Sometimes they bring the politics into the workplace, into the government, and that's not going to work, because you have a responsibility. I'm well aware. There's a lot of people, tens of thousands of people in Monroe County didn't vote for me last time. But I am still their county executive. And so I have to serve, and it's a pleasure to serve everybody in the county, regardless of what political party you're in.
Well, I noticed that with your State of the County speech. I listen to the whole thing. So it's an hour and 10 minutes. Okay. Now for the last 4 minutes, you say we're being driven by things that maybe we don't want to be driven by, but you don't mention anybody by name. You don't use any adjectives saying the blankety blank so and so, and you can't fault somebody for saying, "Hey, we're in a position I don't want to be in. This is what it is, and this is my view," and you have to respect that. Now, I did a couple of little shorts out of some interviews I did lately, and I called it. Actually, I wrote an article for the Rochester Business Journal. It was called "Social Media Myopia," and it was this. So I interviewed, the first two people I interviewed was Bob Duffy and Jeff Tyzik. And Bob Duffy is great. He says, I do things behind the scenes. He says, I don't get out there. People are yelling at me saying you should take these hard stands or whatever. He says, politicians tend to have, they tend to remember that for like 30 years because you tick somebody off. He says, they don't get over that very easy.
No, they don't. So, hey, listen, you can't hold a grudge. I mean, that's not that. You don't do that in this business. I learned that a long time ago. And the other thing, though, too, is you don't take things personally. Okay,
right.
So this is business, right? So it's not personal. You can disagree with somebody on a policy decision. You can take to the airwaves and openly disagree with somebody, and that is your job. Your job, and part of your job of running the government, though, is you also have to be an advocate for your community. That sometimes requires disagreeing with other public officials or other private citizens that are doing things, or people who are building things, or businessmen. It is what it is. Your job is to disagree, but that doesn't mean it has to be personal. It also doesn't mean that the person you're disagreeing with is a bad person or
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
lesser of a person than you are simply because you disagree with
Mm,
the position that they've taken. You've just happened to disagree with them. And we've gotten away from that in politics. There's way too much hate speech. There's way too
mm,
much. I disagree with you, therefore you are other than me. You hate, I see this a lot. You hate America because you disagree with me. It's like, what? Or you must hate your constituents or your county or your state because I disagree with a political stance that you have.
mhm.
I just fundamentally disagree with that. You don't have to take things personally. And part of the problem with the way I think some people are approaching politics right now is that it does drive good people out of politics,
Oh,
out of government. Because if you're sitting back and wondering whether you have something that you think could be a benefit to the government, to the community, you have a special talent or an ability that you think you bring to the table, and then you go on Twitter or X, I suppose you're right, or Facebook or whatever, and you're reading comments that people are saying about politicians or about other government officials, you may look at that and say, why would I involve myself in this? Like,
right.
why do I want to be part of this? And in my view, that is what we could start to find as a shorter, maybe midterm, long-term problem,
Hmm.
is that if we can't figure out how to agree, or I'm sorry, disagree in an agreeable way, right? Like if we can't figure out uh, 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 how to take the temperature down in politics, you're going to drive good people away, and then that's going to negatively impact the functioning of government. And I think that's a long-term consequence of the dialogue that I think exists, particularly the dialogue on social media, which never ceases
Ah,
to amaze me. What people are willing to say. Now, a lot of it's behind hidden names, right? That,
mhm,
unwilling to put your name to what it is you're saying, which I think is interesting. If you're unwilling to actually say who you are when you're
mhm.
saying something, I think that's the first tell. But and when you hide behind something. But the other thing is even under your own name as saying things that you would never say to somebody's face. And I do think that's an interesting phenomenon that we've been dealing with
Oh yeah.
for years. Yeah. And
Yeah. No, no, no. I
politics
think
isn't
you're.
the only thing either. It's all personalities, right, Dom? You're a high profile person with your show and the business that you've been in, right?
Do you know how many people hate me?
Okay, well, first of all, probably none. But yeah, but you've probably seen, right?
Oh my God.
Why would anybody say something bad about Dom
Yeah.
Genova?
Oh
But
yeah, yeah, yeah. Look,
and you
I
never
can give you a
know.
list, but I'm going to be like Bob Duffy. I'm not going to say anything out loud.
That's funny.
But what it's done, excuse me for interrupting you, but because before I forget this point, I want to get this point in there. What it's done is given voice to the fringes. The fringes have just as much, the people that think that the world is flat and they have the tinfoil on their heads because they think the planet Zeptar is giving. Those people have voice now. And if
Well,
you go
yeah.
online and you find out that people think that the world is flat and the sovereign citizen thing, where I'm really not a citizen of the United States, you can't give me a ticket because I'm traveling, I'm not driving. I mean, these people are nuts.
Well, it gives equal weight, right,
Yes.
to messages or thoughts that may not be based in reality, right? Like
Right.
I think that's a
Yeah.
big piece of it. Like I was just looking at, honestly, I was looking at X, today, like on
Yeah.
my way back to the office here before we interview. I'm actually really struggling on X right now. I probably won't look at it for most of the rest of the day because I have an interest in just what's going on in Iran today, right? Like what's going to
Mhm.
happen later today, what's going to happen, I can't tell what's real and what's not at this
Oh
point.
yeah.
My Twitter feed is so full of nonsense that it's very difficult to understand what's real and what's not real. And I do wonder, I have a lot of faith in people, so I know most people looking at Twitter are looking at that and saying, and they can discern, okay, this is probably nonsense, or this is probably,
Mhm.
but I don't know. I think there's a big
Oh
community
yeah.
out there that it's very difficult to know. And then also with the new advances in artificial intelligence, the ability to create videos, to create photos that are doctored but look really, really good, look like they're real. That's a troubling development as well. They can even mimic voices, right? You could actually,
Mhm.
I've seen scams that have popped up. I've heard about scams where people can take your voice and then mimic phone calls to people in
Mhm.
somebody else's voice. Those are really trouble things. But in any event, I just think it poisons um, the discourse and chases, I think, good people out. And I think so. One of a message I try to always give out, and also especially to kids. We have a lot of kids visit the county office building. So one of the things that I love to do is when there's field trips here, is to like tour the building or whatever's happening here. I always try to break whatever meeting I'm in, whatever phone call I'm on, I try to get off of right away, so I can actually go out and greet the kids. And I can
Mhm.
talk to the students. And I've had students here as young as like second, third grade, right up through high school students, seniors. But I always try to go out there and talk to them and just try to talk about what does the government do and what's the purpose of government,
Mhm.
what's the purpose of county government, certainly, but also what's public service all about? Because I think we got to try to find a way to reach people, especially that future generation of leaders, so that they're not scared away from this type of service.
Well, and it's even a fear for your safety now. I was
Yeah.
lucky enough to see Amy Coney Barrett at here in South Bend, and the fellow was interviewing her. He says, your life. Says your life. She goes, yeah, it's horrible. She goes, it's absolutely horrible. She said, it
Yeah.
is. We are so
I,
afraid. And I love this expression that she had. She goes, well, he says, well, do you have second thoughts? She goes, I went to my husband. I think his name is Jamie. Says, well, if I interview this and I get the job, I have to take the job. You don't turn it down. So even before I went to the interview, we named it, we're burning the boats. We're burning the boats. This is it. This is the thing we've decided to do. And by hell or high water, we got to deal with it. And we're dealing with it. She goes, and that is scary. I mean, you have to come across some of that even at your level, don't you?
I do. And it's honestly, it's something that's new too.
Yeah.
So my, for me, it started about, I think it's about 4 years ago.
Hmm.
I've had some high profile ones that were on the news where people have threatened my life and my family's life. I've had some that have not been on the news that are unreported. And several people have actually gone to jail for that.
Ooh.
So it's a different, because some were like one, well, there was at least one, maybe two that I actually were I would that were credible situations. Um, but and this didn't exist, I would say 5, 6, 7 years ago. No,
Right.
I mean I started as a town supervisor, became county clerk, was elected county clerk, was elected county executive, and it was only in the last 4 years or so that this has really, for a local level, become a problem. Obviously, we've seen political violence take place at higher levels, I think, of elected office and some lower, but like scattershot, this is becoming a lot more normalized, and that's very dangerous. And again, that's another reason why good people may
Oh, yeah.
want to pursue this business.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we have
Yeah.
kids. I have two children.
Yeah.
I have a wife. She has a career as well. And I have two kids that I'm raising that I have a responsibility to keep them safe too. And so you do have that conversation as a family too about whether what you're doing is worth it. Are you doing, is your public service career a disservice to your family or service to your family, right? And you do have those conversations, and that it's unfortunate. Now I'm lucky that I'm surrounded by some really good people here at the county,
Mhm.
but we take the proper precautions that we have to take. But it really is. I mean, again, there's an example. I'm not going to tell you who it was, but there was someone that I know was looking to run for office years ago. And it was at a time where there was a very serious situation related to me and somebody that was making threats on me that were credible threats. And I had to make some changes in my life for a few weeks, my family and I, while that was being dealt with. And this person said to me that their family was uncomfortable with them running for office, and I was trying to recruit them to run for office.
Mhm.
And I said, why? And they said, well, we're not sure we want to live like the Bellows right now.
Ah.
That was a gut
Oh,
punch.
yeah, that's a
To
gut
have
punch.
somebody say to you, I don't know if I want to live like you right now. You're like, because of that, it's specifically because of a threat. That was a real gut punch moment that really even made me stop and think about
Yeah.
things. But but that again, that's the new reality
Well, that's like a Maslow's thing, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I mean, your first your
Mhm.
first need is to have oxygen and food and
Right.
have nobody kill you. Okay, so you can get to the rest of this and be self-actualized and give back to society and everything. But yeah, I mean, I could I think the founding fathers expected that there not be as much obviously political party as we have now, but common sense would say that you elected the fella or gal that was the most qualified and was most like you, and this thing that has gotten into and morphed into is not really what we're looking at. Thomas Paine writes in his book. I'm not a very well read man, but one of the things he wrote about the aristocracy says the problem with the aristocracy is sooner or later you get an idiot in the bloodline.
That's
Yeah,
right. Well,
well, it doesn't
it
have to
happens.
be. I'm not
Yeah.
talking about anybody
I,
in particular. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. Sooner or later, somebody in
no,
position is
yeah.
is is an idiot.
Yeah.
So
No, that's true. Isn't there another quote too? I'm trying to remember who said
yeah,
it, but they said basically democracies are like the worst form of government except for every other form or something like
yeah,
that. Who
yeah.
said that?
That was Winston Churchill. But
Churchill said that? Okay.
yeah, but
Yeah.
one of the founding fathers, somebody back when I can't remember exactly who, said the problem with democracy is going to be run by people who want to do it.
Okay. That
Yeah,
is true. So
I
then,
mean, I mean that's what you're saying. I mean, you weigh. When
well,
I left Chrysler to start my dealership,
yeah.
my wife, God bless my wife, she goes, "Well, what's the worst that's going to happen? The worst that's going to happen is we lose our money." She goes, "You get a job selling cars, I get a job waiting tables. That's the worst of it. You're in your position,
Oh
then you
no.
got
So
elected. Then you got to get elected every, how many years? This
oh
is
yeah,
not.
you get a big risk. No,
This,
there's a big risk. My
no,
job
this,
is only secure for 4 years at a time right now.
Oh, okay. So,
So
so I just want everybody to know you're not on because you're running this
no,
year.
I'm not running this year.
You
No.
genuinely like me
I
and
do
come on
like
the
you,
show
Dom.
because you
I
like me.
do appreciate the conversation. The feelings conversation about my safety and everything else.
Okay. Okay.
But
Go
no,
ahead.
I think that no. So all right, so that gets to the point of the question. So there's a couple different types of elected officials, right? I like to think I fall into one of the categories,
All right.
but I think we all like to fall into think we fall in those categories. That's part of the problem. But you have some who think of it like a game, okay,
Right.
and want to see themselves on TV. This is a game. They
Hmm.
govern by press release is a term that we use around here a lot of times. And then you have people that really want to roll up their sleeves and understand how things work, understand the implications of what you're doing, and really understand public policy, right? And so the problem is when you get an imbalance of those types of people, things stop working, and the other piece is like, public officials don't, depending on where you fit in that spectrum,
Hmm.
don't always understand the implications of the policy decisions that
Hmm.
they're making, and so that can be very frustrating, right? And but it just sort of is what it is.
Well,
But
I think it's analogous to,
uh,
to something that somebody told me years ago. It said most doctors do not become doctors because they want to make money, but
uh,
some of them do.
some of them
You
do
know,
very well,
they
right?
work very well.
Well,
So what is your moral compass? What is the
right.
currency of your soul? Is the statement that I have. Like why are you doing this and you're willing to put up with it? So let's talk about some good things that are going on.
Yeah.
Because we got a little serious here. I heard your um yeah, you didn't mention anything about the DMV in your speech there. So do you have that all cleared up? Is that
I'm just
all
glad I don't have to run the DMVs anymore.
anymore?
I will say though that the DMVs are a challenge, my friend.
Oh yeah,
It
yeah,
always will be. It's
yeah.
You have a lot of people. Again, hey, you want to talk about how policy impacts something? So let me tell you
Okay.
something. So the county clerk, the county clerk is a very difficult job, right? So she, Jamie Romeo now, but the county clerk, she has to run these DMVs, but they are almost entirely what happens at the DMV governed by another level of government. So
Mm,
when the county clerk stands up there and says, okay, we have this new computer system, we have to train our staff on the system, the way the wait time system is interfacing with this system isn't necessarily, those aren't even her systems most of the time. They're not even the county clerk systems. They're somebody else's. It's the state system, or it's what the state DMV chose to use, which then comes down onto you. And so And even like in the new requirements with the, the real IDs that came down, right? So everyone has switched to real ID. Well, here's the deadline for real ID. Never mind, the deadline is going to get pushed out a year. Never mind, it's pushed out another year. And so you're doing all of this to try to figure out how do you make room for people to get there. And it's hard because the rules keep changing. So
Mhm.
I will say that in defense of county clerks statewide, it's a very difficult job. But that actually gets to the point of county government. So what is county government though, too, Dom? So if you step back and look at it, most county executives through history will always complain about the state mandates and that 90% of our job is state mandated, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that is true. And you'll hear me say that every once in a while, but I don't lean on that as much as I think a lot of my predecessors. The reason why is because that is what a county does. That's what we're set up for. That's why we exist. We are entities of the state. So the state creates these counties. There's 62 of them. Monroe County is a county. What we exist for largely by statute is to be that pass-through of state and federal programs. So when you see the federal government announce that they're going to do this new program, you hear the president announce every once, let's not do politics, but every so many months he'll announce it's infrastructure week, right? Okay, so when they finally get around to doing an infrastructure bill, and they'll say, okay, here's infrastructure, we're going to do it, we're going to invest this. What they're really investing in is, yes, the federal government does have some projects they're going to invest in. But what they also do is take a large sum of those dollars, a big number they put, it passes down to the states, the counties, and then down to localities. So we become the pass-through for a lot of those dollars and projects. The same thing happens with the state. So when you see the state announce they're going to invest $100 million in Project X, a lot of times what they're doing is passing those funds down to the county. So we don't always get to control the agenda or control what it is we're investing dollars in, because a lot of our dollars, I think actually most of our dollars, aren't even local tax dollars. They're tax dollars. All the dollars we invest are tax dollars, but they might be the state or the federal dollars as well. So just, I want to put all that in perspective. But what we do have a lot of flexibility is how we administer those programs and the effectiveness of what we do. So when it comes to like the DMV being a good example, we're required to do a DMV. The county clerk is required to operate a DMV. They're required to do this. So how do you do it then becomes at your discretion. Or at the county, like what I do is right now we are required to run a community college, right? So we are responsible for, in part, funding roughly a third of MCC's budget. And Monroe County owns and trusts all of the buildings that are associated with MCC. So that's a very big operation. I don't run the day-to-day of MCC, but it's a function, the buildings, the grounds, all of that, and a third of the funding. So how do we run it? That's kind of up to us, though, where we set the priority in what we invest in. So one of the exciting new projects that we're investing in this year, Dom, is we're going to cut the ribbon this fall on what's called the Advanced Technology Center. So what we've decided to do was, working with the president of MCC, is we've decided to prioritize not just necessarily your traditional degree earning programs, but also to prioritize yes, degree earning and certificate earning programs that will help prepare people for the workforce. So that's what really led to the Advanced Technology Center, which really is where they're going to locate automotive technology, HVAC system technology. We have the optical systems training program. It's like it's like the nation's first 2-year program in optic systems. And so all of that's going to be housed in this new building that we're going to open up hopefully in just the next few months. That is then at our discretion. That's where we set the priorities. So that's,
well, God bless you.
I'm really excited about that building, because it's been a number of county administrations. My understanding, this idea has gone back a long time, but we were finally able to do this because we prioritized it, and it's also going to prepare our young people here and people looking for second careers, right? For new emerging technologies and jobs in these new technologies that aren't going to go the way of AI, right? But are going to be real hard jobs here.
Well, God bless you for doing that, because I have this mission that I'm on, and it's to talk to especially young people about having degrees with marketable skills.
Yes.
I
Yep.
mean, you can go. I mean, my son-in-law has a rather substantial student loan, but he got a law degree and he's a lawyer. You can go and get a degree in sports marketing, and there's 1,000 people for every job in sports marketing, and you have $150,000 debt. So if you go learn a trade like HVAC or
That's
electrician
right.
or whatever, or auto mechanic, you are never going to be out of work, and you don't have the debt. And we need to. I think one of the things that we do, it's just my opinion. I don't know if this is the way it works or not, but we judge our high schools by how many kids go to college. Well,
Yeah, that is a metric that's out there. Yeah,
yeah, what is that? What do
it's
you
an
have a successful
outdated.
life? Yeah,
I think it's
can
an
you
outdated
support yourself?
metric. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you just said that. So we started. That's Dom. You're hitting the nail on the head here because we actually changed the way we fund these programs too. Thinking back to this, so when I started, there's an entity called Comida.
Yeah.
It's our IDA
Mhm.
that offers property tax abatements, other
Mhm.
sales tax abatements, things to new industry or to new development industry that
Mhm.
needs assistance to be able to make their projects pencil. Anyways, in exchange for those property tax abatements, those companies have to pay a fee. The developers have to pay a fee to Comida.
Mhm.
Comida never used to have a strategy on those fees. What we started a few years ago was a workforce development fund out of those fees. So now a portion of all the fees that are paid by private development to Comida go into a workforce development fund. And then that fund funds the job training for industries or for jobs and skills that are necessary for these industries to be successful.
Ah,
How about
yeah.
that? So you're feeding the ecosystem of the workers who will then be able to access jobs because we incentivize companies that are creating the jobs for the types of industries that we're now
Mhm.
training the workforce for. But one of those programs that has been largely successful, hugely successful, I should say, is training people into the building trades.
Yeah.
And this is skilled trade work. Because at the end of the day, an electrician, a plumber, a sheet metal worker, a carpenter is not going to be replaced by Chat GPT. Okay. Claude
Mhm.
is not suddenly going to go out there and build a building. So we're always going to need them. And when you get trained in one of those skills, you learn something, you have something now that nobody can take away from you either. You have
Right.
that skill. It's marketable now. You can
Mhm.
go to a union, you can go to a non-union shop, you can go to a union shop, you can and if you go to a union shop, you get a pension,
Mhm.
healthcare benefits. Now what you're talking about is not just a job, but it's a career. And now you're talking about how you interrupt generational poverty and barriers to building wealth when you have pensions, right? So when
Right.
you now have a job that has a pension that you did not have to take on $100,000 in college debt. In fact, in some of these cases, through these programs, the county, not even through the tax dollars, but through the private
Mhm.
investments that are being made, will pay for your training. We will
Right.
pay for your training for your pre-apprenticeship program. Um, into a career that will then provide you health benefits, a pension, and a skill that you will always have and makes you very marketable.
Mhm.
That's like
Yeah.
the new way of, I think, doing this. But that's critical to this. And we've got to get into the schools even more with this.
Mhm.
Think about the optics program. So the optics program at MCC, it's a one of its kind program. It offers a 2-year degree uh, in um, uh, in optics and photonics and this advanced manufacturing program. All that program has a 100%, I believe, placement rate
Mhm. I
in
could imagine.
jobs. It's
Yeah.
100%. And these jobs aren't real low paying jobs. I mean, these are jobs that have starting pay, I believe, in the 60s, like $1,000 range. And then it goes all the way, tons of room for advancement. And the jobs exist today. There's more jobs than people. So, what the MCC does is they do a good job getting into schools, talking to high school students, things like that. But we got to open the kids' minds here. Because the other thing too, and the other reason I'm always aware of, like, why we should figure out different ways to talk about these metrics is that the world is changing fast. When I was in high school, there was no optics, photonics programs like
Right.
this. That wasn't an option for me. I don't know if I would have excelled at that anyways, but it wasn't an option for me. What 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, there's going to be options we haven't even dreamed of, right?
Right.
There's going to be career fields that we wouldn't even imagine today would be existing for then. So we do have to like figure out, and that's also why this building at MCC, this whole thing we're building is so important, is that it's a flexible sort of model here that can move with the times, right? So that whatever that new industry is 20,
Yeah.
30 years from now, we have what we,
Yeah.
we have
It's
this
give,
center that we
the,
can
the
move.
word I use is marketable skill. You can
I
get an
like that.
education, but not have a marketable skill. And the thing is that I think one of the things, of course, on my show, there are older people listening to my show. So these are people that have children that are going to high school and college and whatever. And this is what they need
Did
to
you just call
support.
someone with a kid going to college an older person?
Yeah.
I think you
I
just
suppose
referred
it.
to me as my son's a junior in high school, so you just called me an
Well,
older.
I'm 72 going over 73, so you can't play this one on me.
Okay.
I'm old enough to be your father, I think. So
I'm 46, so
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So that
Yeah,
is I thought you had better political skills than that. No,
okay, somehow this turned from you calling me old to me calling you old. So okay, I got it. I got
oh, that's exactly.
it.
So, and another couple of things. Well, let me ask you something. I don't want you to go really deep into this because it's
That's
such a
okay.
controversial thing. But you got the sanctuary city, but that's just part of the county. So you have sanctuary cities. Is a sanctuary county too? I mean, How does that thing work? And then, and I like I said, I don't want to make a big discussion about
Yeah,
this
that's all right.
because everybody's got their opinion. But I mean, we say city, but is that like the county too, or when you say sanctuary?
No, it's a little, there is a distinction. So the city passed a sanctuary city ordinance, right?
Hmm.
That laid out certain policies for city employees and for city government.
Hmm.
Monroe County does not have a past statute law that we've passed that designates us as a sanctuary county. However, we do follow New York state law and we have to
Hmm.
follow federal law.
Hmm.
And under New York state law, though, we do not enforce federal civil immigration policy. We don't.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
so, um, uh, so are we a sanctuary county? We're not a designated sanctuary county,
Okay.
but we also,
Yeah.
there's very little difference between us and the city of Rochester or others because that's just not what we do. And so we don't engage
I,
in.
I can understand. I try not to in this show. I think one of the reasons I get people to come on the show like you is
Yeah.
because I'm not sitting here, hammering you, going, this is what I think. You say what you want, and I want people to listen to it. And every once in a while, I'll give you, just my observation or my read about this. I think that the there's something that has to be done by somebody who's been here for 20 or 25 years and they were undocumented or quote unquote illegal, and they've been here doing things pretty much the right way. But I think there's got to be some statute of limitations on it or something like that. I mean, it's some of the
Oh,
when you harvest anything, I guess I would look at it like a fishing analogy. When you put a net out there, you're going to catch some stuff that you really don't want to catch. Okay, I mean, you put a tuna net out there, you're going to get some dolphins. If you do uh, uh, a mass sweep someplace, you're going to get some people who are not supposed to be in that sweep and whatever, and that causes a lot of the consternation I think that we see here. So, but anyway,
yeah.
I'm going to leave it
Well,
at that
remember what the
because
president,
uh,
I mean, this is the
uh,
problem. The whole trust in the system is gone. Remember what the president said is that we're going after the worst of the worst. And then
mhm,
we found out that's not what he's doing. And that is not what ICE is doing. They're rounding up, going out there into communities, terrorizing families and whole communities, and not just focusing on the worst of the worst. And, I've honestly, it's okay, Dom, to talk about this. I've spoken out about this. What I saw happen in Minneapolis is inappropriate. That is wrong. And they should not be doing these sweeps or whatever you want to
mhm,
call them is not right. And that's not what the president said they were going to be doing.
mhm,
The other thing that they're disappearing people, like just taking people and they just disappear and nobody knows where they went and for what reason. These are all things that damage the community. And let me tell you something. if you play the tape to the end and you say, okay,
Mhm.
so what's really the harm, right? Well, here's the harm. You do have people. There's plenty of examples from around the country
Mhm.
where United States citizens are getting caught up in this as well, right? Or
Mhm.
people who are documented
Mhm.
immigrants who have a legal status here are being threatened. Well, what happens then is when they're threatened, they now feel unsafe doing things that they need to do to meet their basic needs. Go to the doctor, go to school,
Mhm.
right? Go to the grocery store. Now suddenly people are afraid to seek medical care or to send their kids to school. And so what happens then? Now people are going to are getting hurt. They're going underground and they're getting hurt. And that these are human beings. And sometimes we talk about these things in abstractions,
Mhm.
or we try to dehumanize people, but these are human beings. And the way the federal government has rolled out this policy and the actions they've taken, in my view, is just wrong. So,
So let's change the subject to something
okay.
a little bit more, yeah, a little bit
Yeah.
lighter. Okay.
Yeah.
I am proud to say, now I'm doing this show on WYSL. I got to do a little commercial for WYSL now because the signal is just as good as that other big talk radio station.
Mhm.
And rather than having 36 minutes, I have 55 minutes, and I'm bought the commercials myself, and I'm doing this
Nicely
commercial
done.
free because this is what I love to do. You get to, how would I get to meet you? Yeah, I mean, I mean, like in a personal way like this. So it's
Mhm.
really, really cool. But I have a presenting sponsor of the show. We're still going to be commercial free, but the presenting sponsor for my show, and this is the first show,
Mhm.
is the Rochester Red Wings.
Nice.
So what we're going to do, and Anita and I and our family have gotten very close to Naomi and her family. And the reason we went to the Red Wings first was that somebody gave us 4 free tickets to go see the Red Wings. And my family and I were hooked because I mean we have 2 girls. There's only so many things you can do with them. You go to a ballpark, nice summer day. It's not only the ballpark, but it's the whole experience, and you feel like you're like you're. It's just a wonderful asset that we have. And so we're going to be giving away 4 tickets every week for
That's
somebody.
awesome.
We're going to have to be on the honor system for somebody who
Oh.
hasn't been there before to maybe have the same experience that we did, and maybe we can hook some other people. Because the thing about the Red Wings is that, and I say this to Naomi all the time, you get it, you understand what your product is. Your product is not baseball; it's entertainment and family engagement that happens to be at a ballpark with baseball.
Yeah.
And when people start to realize what a nice experience that is, especially since it's, well, if the snow didn't melt in the 4th of July, we'd have glaciers. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
terrible.
I love the Rochester Red Wings. You and you just described it exactly right. It's like I grew up going to Red Wings games. We were going to Silver Stadium. Remember Silver Stadium
Oh yeah.
over on Norton
Oh
Street?
yeah, yeah.
I grew up going to Silver Stadium, Frontier Field. We just renamed the ballpark ESL Ballpark, which is amazing.
I'm
I think
so
that's the
proud of that. Yeah.
greatest name. Did a great job with that. I'm a huge, huge fan of the Red Wings for just what you said. It's not even just about the baseball. It's everything that happens off the field too. It's a way to spend time with your family,
Oh yeah.
with your friends. You have birthday parties there. It's a way to just spend a night. And also, what I give Naomi credit and the Silver family a lot of credit for is that they also have kept this a very affordable,
Oh
accessible.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you can go to a Red Wings game, which now that they changed the clock rules, right, with the pitch clock, now they're a
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
bit shorter. But where else can you go and spend 2 or 3 hours watching a ball game, the
Yeah.
environment around it, get a fireworks show right afterwards,
Yeah.
sometimes music afterwards,
Yeah.
all of that, then less than a ticket to a movie, right?
Right.
It's you can get hot dogs are cheap there. You can just go spend time. And I don't know. I think it's
I love it.
beautiful.
It
Yeah.
is they've woven
Yeah.
their way into the culture of Rochester. I
They
mean,
really
really,
have.
they get it. The thing is, people get it or they don't get it. Like Wegmans gets it. I mean,
Yeah.
and there's certain things that are just Rochester things. I mean,
Yeah. Well, that's also
you
why I
know.
like ESL naming the stadium
Oh
because
yeah, yeah, yeah,
again, the
yeah,
numerous because what's
yeah,
more Rochester too than ESL? If you think about the history of
yeah,
ESL and
yeah.
Eastman Kodak Company and then George Eastman that created ESL, and he created ESL as a way to have their employees be able to obviously build wealth and then invest
Mhm.
in the community and housing and access. It's all this is all tied together. So I thought it was perfect. And this is actually one of the things the county does that's fun.
Mhm.
Is we own the baseball stadium. So I love the baseball stadium. If you go there, if you haven't been there in a year and a half or 2 years,
Oh yeah.
we have the new performance center that sticks out. You sort of see it out in the parking lot closest to the field for the players to train on. We got that huge new video board there. We've got all this new stuff that we built at the baseball stadium. I have ideas and plans for additional improvements that we can make at the stadium soon. So we've been investing a lot there, but that's just a good thing that the county does that I'm really excited about
Well,
potentially.
um, I was talking to Naomi a while back, and Nita and I are going to be married 40 years
Wow,
this year. And
congratulations.
why, thank you. You'd say that if it was 10. I mean, you would say, nobody has an ugly baby. Oh, your baby's so pretty. Oh, you've been married 5 years. Oh, yes.
No one says I've been married 40 years. My condolences, Dom. I've met your wife,
But,
and I'm going to say
oh,
congratulations.
yeah,
You,
yeah. I would not be anywhere close to being as successful as I feel without Nita. She's amazing. I mean, we sold everything we had to start the dealership back when, and the building had no heat or water or whatever. We're going across the street to the Ford dealership to go to the bathroom. But
yeah,
anyway,
you have a
um,
great partner.
yeah. And the thing is that so Naomi says we have a banquet facility holds 100 people, and I'm like, wow, yeah, that'd be really cool for a what do you call it, a re-anniversary, or they call it you have a party, or renewing your vows at the baseball field. Maybe we can throw out the first pitch or something like that. So
That's cool. That's
so
cool.
so
Yeah. You should do that. But, I will tell you though, that's one of the fun things, Rochester Red Wings. The other fun thing the county does, we run the
mhm.
zoo.
Yes,
Anybody ever
yes,
been to the
yes,
Seneca
big
Park
improvements
Zoo?
at the zoo. Yeah.
Yes, we're actually doing, we are out to design right now on a new tropics complex
Mm.
that I'm hoping to be able to unveil in the next couple of months, a new design. And this is something actually we got some state funding for. There's private funding that's being raised through the Zoo Society, and then the county is funding it as well. But the goal here is to build an indoor tropics complex that essentially will help make our zoo a year-round
Hmm.
attraction. So that because it's cold here, right?
Mhm.
Earth's cold,
I,
okay?
I
But
noticed.
you noticed,
You
especially
know,
this year. I don't know what
oh my
it
God.
snowed
Oh,
like every day.
oh.
But so so what ideally what'll happen is a couple of years when this thing is built, you can go on the snowiest day of winter, come on in there, and you can spend hours inside this tropics complex, and it's essentially an indoor rainforest with the orangutans coming back, lemurs. Right now in the design, we're building in breaking news to everyone listening to the
Mhm.
program. Komodo dragons is a big piece of what we want to do, and we'll also have some aquatic features as well.
Mhm.
So, budgetary constraints, we had to shrink down the aquatic piece just a little bit, but there'll be a touch tank as part of it, and hopefully I'll break some other news to you right now too. But I'm really hopeful we're able to get the Pacific octopus in the plan as well. So. My team's gonna kill me for like putting that out there early with you right
Uh,
now, but that's
the
the plan.
two other pluses is that this court that you have now, where you streamline
Yep.
the court system, where you don't have
Yep.
to go for arrangements in each
Yeah.
town. That was a good thing.
Yeah, so we did that. So that was part of our public safety agenda, and
Mhm.
the centralized arraignment part is basically what that
Mhm.
was. I mean, think about this: the way this used to work was that every town and village has their own
Mhm.
court, and when there was an arrest made, every single one of those courts had to be activated to do the arraignment. And when they had to wait for the arraignment, uh, basically a police officer, and I used to see this firsthand. I used to be the town supervisor in Irondequoit. A police officer would make an arrest in Irondequoit, take that defendant, the person being charged,
Mhm.
had to go back to the police station, and then someone had to sit there and get off the road. So you have a road patrol
Mhm.
officer who's now off the road, sitting there, keeping an eye on and watching the accused while they wait for a judge and wait for an arraignment to come in.
Mhm.
And then arraign the person, and then maybe have to drive them back downtown now to the jail, or they send them off, or
Mhm.
whatever. Centralize the whole thing. The county taxpayers pay for a courthouse. We pay for the county court.
Mhm.
So we centralized it now put together a schedule. So now when you are arrested for an arraignable offense out in the towns or the villages, the police officer takes you downtown to a
Mm-hmm.
centralized arraignment. The police officer then can drop you off where we have fully trained jail deputies that can watch you. And the road patrol officer can go back on the street. So it gets the police back out on the street quicker,
Mm-hmm.
streamlines the process so you're not paying as a taxpayer for arraignments in Irondequoit and arraignments to happen downtown. Now it all happens downtown on a set schedule. It made a whole bunch of sense. And this is an example where government used to not work. And this is where you run into trouble. So you could say to yourself, why didn't this happen before? The reason why is because it does cost county government a little bit more money because the county now has to fund the centralized arraignment.
Mm-hmm.
But it saves all the towns and villages a lot
Mm-hmm.
more than what it cost the county, right? So you ultimately are saving money, creating a streamlined position, and putting police officers back on the street quicker. Why didn't this happen before? Because it cost the county a little bit more money. And so you have your governments all siloed, only caring about here, where the taxpayer back at home, they care about what their full tax bill is. They're not paying attention to, well, my county tax might be a little bit lighter but my town tax, no, they're looking at the bill, right? And a lot of people have it escrowed, so look at this. So we're able to save money across the system by taking on this little extra piece of work.
Yeah, that's bureaucracy. Just handling a little bit of bureaucracy. The other thing that's really kind of cool. It's just a little thing. Is the bus thing? Where you get
the bus patrol.
where you're getting people tickets for the bus thing. I mean,
because I am big on accountability, Dom. And
wow.
So the centralized arraignment is part of it. Our JEDS program, which I want to mention in just a second. But
Okay.
the school bus program. So there's probably some people listening to this. Statistically, there are people listening to this who have gotten a ticket from us on the school bus program. But basically what we found is that, and I'm a parent, like I told you, I put my kids on the school bus every morning.
Yeah.
That was part of my responsibility. The number of people I saw pass the school bus was alarming. So we worked with this company. We passed a new law that allowed school districts allowed school districts to put these cameras on the side of school buses and automate the ticket process so we could see cars going by. And I actually have some statistics here. Since we started this program in October of 2023, so we're talking about 2.5 years. So let me ask you, in 2.5 years, with not the whole county participating, the city of Rochester, which is our biggest school district, just jumped in just a few months ago. How many tickets do you think we've issued?
A couple of hundred.
Couple hundred? 33,000.
Whoa. Whoa.
Yeah.
What? Up until this point in time, that was 33,000 incidents where some child could have gotten, well, God forbid, killed.
I've got videos because the way it works now and the way the citation, we even take a slightly conservative view here. The stop arm has to be all the way out. It has to be very clear. This bus is stopped. The red lights are flashing. The stop sign is out. The stop arm is out. I've got videos of cars flying by. There was a video last year that my team put on my radar where there was actually a kid crossing a road and a car went right by him. So it's a very dangerous situation. So it's a $250 fine if you pass a stop school bus. We take a picture. I've seen what these citations look like, but it takes a picture of the car before it gets to the bus. So you can see the stop sign out. You can see the car behind the bus. It takes a picture crossing the bus, and it shows you a picture past the bus. And then if you fight the ticket, I know there's a video of each one of these as well. So if you say, no, I didn't do that, we can go back to the video. But it's interesting. People say, okay, how fair is this? Because it's all automated. It's not. It's an automated photo, but it's a 3-factor review. So you've got the photo, takes a picture of the car passing a stop, because it only is activated when the stop sign's out. But the company that we're working with is a company called Bus Patrol, and the citation goes to Bus Patrol. Bus Patrol has a person who reviews every citation to say, did the car really go past the stop school bus? Then once they make a determination that it did, it then comes to Monroe County. The Monroe County team, we also have a person who reviews the citation and makes sure. So there's sort of like there's one computer and then two different sets of human eyeballs on each one of these before the citations go out. So these are real citations. Now, the good news is the recidivism rate is really, really low. Once somebody has gotten one ticket, it is very unusual that they've gotten a second.
Now, I can imagine that. Probably the second ticket is a few more dollars, isn't it, or not? You could have had, you could have had a 56-inch color TV, Mr. So and so, or you could pass.
That is exactly right. And think about that's a pretty steep. Now, the program is violator funded, so no tax dollars pay for that. The county staff that's reviewing each one of the videos is paid for by the fines. So it doesn't cost Monroe County tax dollars anything. It's all violator funded. So that's why I really liked this program. It's about safety. It's slowing everybody down. I'm a big fan of just slowing down and trying to be safer on the roads. The other thing that we did recently, Dom, in the world of public safety is I'm a big fan of the sheriff. We've talked about this last show, but I have added, I think the number was close to 50 deputies. We've increased the size of the sheriff's department by since I've been county executive. This year, I worked with the sheriff to provide funding, and then he created what's called the REOC, the Regional Investigative Operations Center, which is a really cool center that can actually help with the operation of like large scale investigations. It could focus on patterns, like crime patterns that you see develop. It's where the drone operation comes out of and stuff like that. And it's this really cool center because at the end of the day, crimes or crime patterns that might happen in the town of Henrietta also may happen in Pittsford or Penfield or Greece. And it doesn't just happen within a municipal border. So creating this REOC is a single center that can track these multi-jurisdictional crimes and be able to give the sheriff a better command post, but also better utilization of technology in helping to solve these crimes. So we're very proud of the REOC as well. The other thing we did, JED's program. This is a program that is known across the state to help bring accountability to young people who have committed crimes. When you saw that big increase in car thefts, smash and grabs, petty larcenies, things like that. Bring accountability, but also rehabilitation so that we can try to keep kids from falling into this criminal justice system, from committing these crimes and try to get them back on the right path. And that program has had remarkable results. We are one of only 2 counties that saw, in all of New York State, that saw a decrease in youth crime last year. One of only 2 counties in the state. Because again, we've been able to utilize our probation department, our county assets and resources to try to take these kids that are being arrested by local police agencies off the hands of local police agencies. So now that town police officer, the city police officer doesn't have to essentially babysit these kids in a conference room or take these kids home and just drop them off to mom and dad without any resources or without any support or help. Now it comes over to our probation department. The county steps in, we provide the resources, we provide the accountability, the expedited appearance tickets, and wrap the resources around the kids to try to help prevent them from committing crimes again in the future. And it has had remarkable success.
Well, son. Well, son, we are. I know you have to go to another meeting like right now. So
I could do this all day with you, my friend. But yes,
we'll have to get Mr. Baxter, you and I together, a couple of bourbons and go over this at my house, and I'll make you some clam sauce or whatever.
I would enjoy that.
And
Sheriff's been a great partner in this. Sheriff has been a great partner.
He's great. What a great leader he is too. I mean, he was. I was doing. When he was starting to run for office there, just last time we were doing Thursdays with Todd, and I was doing like 5 or 6 minutes with him and doing some little shorts, and it was very, very productive. Okay, so here's the question of the day. The first one was Spugliadelle, and now you know what a Spugliadelle is.
I know what it is now. Yes, thank you for embarrassing my Italian ancestors. You're embarrassing me in front of my, Italian ancestors.
Well, I brought like 24 up to you in your office,
Yeah.
and then I found out it was like you and Gary Walker. Those are the only two people, running the whole damn place. So you had all these. I don't know what you
Oh
did.
my goodness.
Did you throw them out the window at people, or I mean, what did you do with these things?
No, I walked around and handed them out to all the.
Good. How much you charge?
I,
It could be like, Conehead should do those at the Red Wing. So Pizza Rustica, you know what?
And those were from, you got them from, did you bring
Savoia?
Savoias?
Yeah, they only have it. They only have it like Thursdays and Fridays or something like that. I mean,
Right.
it's just if you've never had one, you got to go there and get
Savoias,
one.
honestly, I'm not just
the best
they're
stuff.
the best, honestly.
So Pizza Rustica, you know what a Pizza Rustica is?
Yeah.
Okay, well, good. Okay, so you passed that part of the test. Well, so you're learning. That's good.
I'm trying.
You're trying.
I do.
Well,
Dom, I still make my Sunday sauce. So
Sunday sauce, that's right.
That piece,
Yeah.
of it
Yeah,
that I learned from my Italian and Irish ancestors, but still, I know how to make. I know how to make Sunday sauce.
Yeah, and there's no recipe to that. They just show you how to do it.
Oh no, it's not written down at all.
They're not written down at all.
What do they say? It's like you season it until the spirits of your ancestors say that's enough. That's enough, my son. Right?
Until you.
Yeah.
And
I can tell the public, can I tell your listeners my secret though? A secret I learned a few years ago. So this is not from my family. Somebody I learned it. The secret ingredient now to the Bello sauce, pepperoni.
Really?
Put pepperoni. Okay, now some people might say, okay, that's not like you're done, Adam. But no, if you chunk up pepperoni, sear it on the bottom of the pan before you start throwing everything else in, your garlic, your onions, and everything else. It adds this incredible spice to your sauce. And then you can either take the pepperoni out, discard it somehow, or keep it in there.
Try that.
And eat it all warmed up. It's an interesting add, so give it a try.
Well, like I said, God bless you for what you do. You are a good man, and I
right back at you.
Not for nothing, but you can agree or not agree with what somebody thinks or says or whatever, but you respect him as somebody that has a I don't know, has a locus of control that you envy. So. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for being friendly with me. And we're going to have to become friends. And that means I have to cook for you.
Thank you, my friend. I would appreciate that. I look forward to it.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks for listening. You can find our previous shows at nononsenseroundtable.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll make more.